welcome back to UML Operator. In our last episode, we talked about PlantUML and kicked off a series. We installed our IDE, our development environment, which was Visual Studio Code, and we configured it to run PlantUML. In this episode, we're going to start with class diagrams, and then in next episodes, we'll get into use cases and other diagram types. So with that started, let's get started. So I've created a test area here, folder in our development environment for this demo, and we are going to add a new file, and we're just going to call it my first class diagram. That's good enough. And then make sure you add the extension PUML. That tells that this is a PlantUML file for code, and we're going to start generating code next. To start a PlantUML diagram, you have to go Start UML. We're just going to hit Enter, and the IntelliSense takes over and auto-fills out everything else. And then we close a diagram model by End UML. We're going to hit Enter, right? And then in between is where we start putting in our PlantUML code. Now, since we're dealing with class diagrams, we're going to create our first class element by typing in class. And you can see the IntelliSense is starting to take over. We're going to hit space, and we're going to name our class. Let's just call it right now just class 1. And then we're going to hit enter. Right, so that's our first line of code inside our start and end UML indicators. Now let's right click in here. Since we have Graph Viz installed, we're able to preview current diagram. So it will render our element that we just created called class 1. You can see in this element, there are two compartments that are here. And in order to populate these compartments, we pretty much have to put brackets in, curly brackets. So we're gonna let the IntelliSense kick in for us. Open, and it automatically creates a closing curly bracket. Let's go ahead and hit enter, and let's add an attribute. And what I'm going to do is attribute 1, and I'm not going to do anything else. So you can see over in the rendered image, it added attribute 1. Let's add method 1, and if we put in opening, closing parentheses, PlantUML will pick that up as a function. And you can see over in the element that we have a compartment here for attributes and a compartment here for operations, methods, functions. Now you can see here, if I click over in the code and I want to turn on visibility, this is access methods. Let's make this public. We put in a plus sign. We'll talk more about access methods later on. Let's see here. We want to make our method or function also public. So we're going to add a plus sign. Now you can see over in the element, it added these symbols here. You've got both the circle that means public attribute and a circle that means public method or function. If we change this, and again, I'll talk more about these, we want to make it private. You can see here now it re-rendered, and this is a private function or method. You do the same thing on the attribute, and you can see it changes the icon, and you could turn these icons off. We'll talk about that later on by using skin parameters, but we'll talk about that skin parameters a little bit later on. Right, so that is basically our first class element. Let me go ahead and change these back to public. Keep it simple, or you don't have to put any visibility in there at all if you don't want to. Let's go ahead and add another class element. So class, and then class 2, and then open curly brackets. Let's hit enter, and let's put in some attributes in here. So they're going to go attribute 2, hit enter, and then method 2. And we've got to put in our parentheses to show that this is a method, function, or operation. And let's go ahead and hit enter. And you can see now that we have class 1 and class 2. You don't have to use visibility in the beginning. You can do that as you're working through your design or your approach and go from there. Before we move on to connections, I want to talk about comments, and then you see this squiggly line underneath start. If I mouse over it, it says that this diagram is unnamed. And this is optional because you may have multiple start and end code inside the same file. And then in that case, you're probably going to want to give it a name. And I'm just going to type in demo. And as soon as I do that, hit space, clear IntelliSense, the squiggly lines go away. And now this set of code for start UML and end UML is just called demo. All right, now let's add some comments to our code. Always the best practice to comment your code. We're going to start with an apostrophe. This signifies you're doing a comment and not code. And then we're just going to go demo class 1, right? And then what we want to do inside the curly brackets, we want to comment. And we're going to start with an apostrophe. And we're just going to put demo attributes and methods. So you notice that the color changes, lets you know this is a comment outside of the element. This is a comment inside the element. So don't panic when you're seeing a change. It's still a comment. It did not impact the code. Let's say you want to add a block of comment or documentation. What we're going to do now is we're going to start with a /. Now I want you to notice something as the IntelliSense is kicking in. I get an error in here because it's not recognizing the /. As soon as I put in an apostrophe, it turns into commented code. Now notice that there's no closing comment indicator, so everything is commented, and we're still seeing an error. It's not going to render. What we want to do down below is let's just close this, apostrophe, and then /. So now you have an area here where you can put in a block of comments within your code. So I've gone ahead and populated the comments here, and you're going to come up with your own shop's convention for naming your files, your code, and comment conventions. In this particular case, we're going to start every diagram with a model name, author, created and updated, and then version number. And again, you're going to come up with your own pattern. Later on, we're getting into patterns. We're going to auto-create PlantUML patterns that pre-populate some of the necessary template information in order to get started in modeling. All right, next what we want to do is create a relationship between class 1 and class 2. So we're going to go down to the bottom here. Now, usually what we do is we define our elements in one section, and then when we're done with that, we define our connections. So let me just put in connections, come down here, and let's start defining our connections. So we've got class 1, and then we're just going to do a simple association, no direction, and I'm going to define class 1. You notice what happened there? It created an element. Let me go class 1. IntelliSense picks up. Okay, we recognize it. Class 2. Hit enter. And now we see we have a relationship between class 1 and class 2. Now by default, you can see the elements are arranged top to bottom, or I want to say vertically. Let's say we want to change the direction or the layout of our diagram. So what we're going to do is anywhere above the class elements, and normally I may do it at the very top. What we're going to do is pick something a little bit different. We're just going to go here, and then we're going to go left, see the keywords, to right, and then very important, direction, and then hit enter. You see it has changed the orientation of the elements in the diagram from left to right. All right, in a later episode, we'll get into connectors, but I just wanted to start the class episode very simple. But this is an association dash. If you want to do a dependency, you can see here, this is a stronger type of dependency. If we come in and we go ... and then a greater than symbol, you can see you have the dash dependency, which is typically the line type that we would use to signify dependency. If you wanted to go bidirectional, you just put in a less than in here. Now you can see in the element that we have a dependency that's bidirectional between these two elements. Let's change this connection, this relationship to implementation or realization. We're going to put a pipe in there. We're going to go ... We're going to take that direction. And now we can see we're using implementation so that class 2 is realizing class 1. If you want to use extension or specialization, we take out the 2 dots, we put in 2 dashes, and now we've got extension or specialization of class in the hierarchy. And composition, let's go in here. We're going to use extras here. And now we've got this class 1 owns class 2. Remember, the diamond is always on the parent element, and then aggregation is going to be simply O. And now you can see it's open diamond, signifying that it's part of the whole of a particular element relationship. So, and there's certainly much more, but we'll cover all of this more detail and explain that when class modeling in a later episode. All right, next let's add some comments. So when I say comment, I want to say notes. And so what we're going to do is note top of class 1. And then hit enter, go down. Let's close this note by just typing end note, right? So you can see a note is starting to show in the element. And what we're going to call this is just class 1. Just keep something for demo. Just keep something simple in there, and you can see it's starting to populate that note. Next, let's give our diagram a title. And you can type title anywhere. Normally, I just go right below the start UML indicator or tag. And you start typing title, space, and then we're just going to my first class diagram. And that's all you need to put in there. You can hit enter, and you can see now you've added a title to the diagram. Next, let's put a note on our connection right here. So this is very important. You go to where the connection is, and right underneath it, note on link, hit enter. And then we'll close the note, end note, enter. And you can see a note is starting to form on this relationship. And then in here, you can basically call it out. So I'm just going to type in, this is a aggregation. Probably should have said an aggregation, proper English, right? So this is an aggregation. If you want, you can see the diagram is auto-sizing. If you wanted to, you could hit enter right here, and it will add that entry into the note. As we proceed in this series, we'll get more into adding comments, notes, and documenting your diagrams as you're going forward. So look forward to getting into that. We're running out of time here and have to start wrapping up, but that's a very important point that we want to get into. And before we wrap up, I want to talk about reusing the diagrams as you're creating them. So in VS Code, we have a copy paste function down here. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. You can see copy to clipboard, and then you can bring up any type of document that you want. But in here, we're just going to hit Control V and paste it. So now we have an image within a document that we can start adding content around. Later on, we'll show you how to export this image without the connections. There are some drawbacks using XML metadata interchange, XMIs, I've talked about in this channel with Sparks Enterprise Architect, and bringing the elements that you've created into your Sparks environment. And again, there's some drawbacks. We'll get into that when we get into that episode. All right, we're going to wrap up now. In our next episode, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the different types of models that you can build. We'll get into more complicated block diagrams, class diagrams. We'll get into tag values, which is one of my favorite subjects. And we will start to build out real artifacts, documents, diagrams that you'll use in system and software delivery or any delivery that you're looking for doing. So look forward to getting into that. And then after that episode, we're kind of set ourselves up for use case diagrams. So that will be part 4. So part 3 is just going to be another dive, since we ran out of time today, on class diagrams, just to dive down a little bit deeper into building your class diagrams, your block diagrams, and the different types of elements that are available to you. So when you're dealing with real block diagrams, you have abstraction, you have, of course, your class diagrams or class elements, you have your interface elements, you've got enumeration that you've got to deal with, and so much more. So in different connections, relationships, and the reasons why you have those relationships, as we've talked about in this channel when we were going through the different types of diagrams for Sparks Enterprise Architect. So I look forward to getting into all of that with you. And until that next episode, you know what? Happy modeling.